Hello everyone, I'm a typical entrepreneur, so I've made all the mistakes. I had my first business failure at about 26. I think I ran that business for about 2 years. Made all the classic mistakes. I went straight into a partnership or a kind of angel investor for 50% of the business and had a grand failure. So iSlices brought with all the learning, thank goodness, from that failure. But what I decided to do, again, as a typical entrepreneur, you start off by thinking, I need to go and get money. I need that first. So I did. I started this idea I came up with the concept in about 1999, and I spent a good couple of years in and out of a ton of VC negotiations. And at that point, I was probably prepared to give it almost all away just to get some money to get this business off the ground. But what I was very fortunate enough to find was I licensed a technology from the CSIR. I had a technology, and one day I got this call from the Gauteng Economic Propeller, a guy by the name of Jeffrey Mokhatla. I don't think you'll ever forget that, when this call comes as an entrepreneur and you're sitting in your little home office, and he says, hello, we've heard of your project and I want to give you some money. I mean, that never happens. I had no idea there was government funding out there. I had no idea there was all this soft money and all this help. And so the Gauteng Economic Propeller were the first to come on board. And so my experience started with the government funding and the government institutions. And I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy process. But if you're prepared to engage in the process, if you're prepared to fill in the forms, to do the business plan, to give the organization what they're asking for, the money is there. But I've met a lot of entrepreneurs along the way who have said to me, I started engaging in the processes, but it's too onerous and it's too much of a mission, so I'm not going to be bothered. They should just give me the money. Why do I need to fill in all this paperwork? And it's taxpayers' money. So I'm sitting on the other side going, well, some of my money is in there, and they need to actually be good stewards over that money. I mean, we criticize government for being corrupt, but when we want the money, we don't want to be accountable. The biggest lesson I learned in my previous business failure was corporate governance, was having every T crossed, every I dotted, your bookkeeping in order, all the right paperwork in order, and that inspires confidence. So when I successfully managed to get this first bit of funding and take each tiny little project, each step, fill in the paperwork, fill in the forms afterwards, be accountable, go through this long, tedious process, the money was coming. I was actually managing to get each tiny little incremental step of the business off the ground. And there are a lot of institutions and funds out there, government funds, some grants, some soft loans. They all structured differently. They all have different mandates. They all fund very particular, specific little things or aspects or projects. Unfortunately, it's not cohesively all under one umbrella, so you've got to kind of go looking for it. And it was at that point I discovered the Egoli Bio Incubator, because they had a fund called BioPad that funds life sciences and biotech type technologies. And I said, I'd like to access your seed fund. And they said, well, we also have this business incubation, and would you like to get involved? And I did. It was the best thing I ever did. A lot of the entrepreneurs I met on that journey as well just rented the space in the incubators, but didn't actually engage in the mentorship program. And being in the incubator taught me valuable business lessons, and you're accountable, and you end up using that money extremely wisely. And we stretched the Egoli Bio Incubator. I got 150,000 Rand soft loan, a 30,000 Rand non-refundable grant as I went into the incubator, and with that little bit of money, I nearly got the whole product developed and done and packaged and branded on that tiny little bit of money. It stretched quite far because you're accountable and you've got the mentorship and the support and the hand-holding and a sounding board. So you're a little bit wiser with the money and not so impulsive. So to cut a long story short, I got funding from Technology for Women in Business, JEDA, the SPY fund from the IDC, which helped develop our prototype manufacturing plant. The DTI subsequent to that with their EMEA scheme for international exhibitions and trade missions to go and find all those global distributors. BioPad, Cape Biotech, and then to also mention organizations like the Blue Catalyst Innovation Hub and Egoli Bio from a mentorship and assistance perspective. I've met a lot of entrepreneurs who along the way have actually admitted they didn't really need the money as much as they thought they needed it. They needed the advice, the mentorship, the hand-holding, the wisdom. And I found that was equally, if not more important than the funding that I accessed along the way. I mean, I had a brilliant bit of advice from a VC, venture capitalist, Mark Eccles from Triumph. I sat down with him, it was before I decided I was going to bootstrap this thing and not go for VC funding. And he said to me, Karen, can I give you some good advice? He said, it's too early for venture capital. He said, take this project as far as you possibly can. Prove the concept. Show us as VCs that this product is marketable, there's a demand for it, get a few customers on board, and you will not give away too much of your company for too little. And I took his advice. And thank goodness for the government. I know most people say there isn't funding out there. Well, there is. I was assisted. I had about 3 million rands worth of government support. Some of it grant funding that I didn't have to pay back. Some of it soft loans, which we have paid back in full. Thought I needed 1.5 million rand. You always need, especially at the starting phase, whatever you think you need now multiplied by 20. Trust me, you need that. If I'd taken 1.5 million rand and given away 40% equity of my company at that stage, I would have actually been in trouble because you're left with so little equity moving forward where you really need the money, the big money, and the growth capital. And we've seen, when I've been to the Endeavour as an observer on the Endeavour panels, lots of entrepreneurs have not made it onto the Endeavour process because of that very fact. They gave away too much equity too early on. And lots of entrepreneurs don't want to bleed, they don't want to take the pain, they've just got this big idea, they want to keep their lifestyles, and you're going to give away too much too early, and you're going to need more money, and you're going to cry. So take my advice, don't come to Rob or the IDC until you really desperately need the money and you've taken your project as far as you can. We actually engineered our business a little, the structure of our business a bit, and we created an IP, intellectual property holding company, and a licensee company. And in our licensee company, we then took the women's private equity funding investment into the business, and just waiting 2 years, literally just sweating it out for an extra 2 years meant that we gave away 40% equity in a licensee company for 7 million rand investment. So that just gives you a real life example that if you sweat it out, if you endure the pain a bit longer, if you go it on your own resources and the government assistance, you'll save yourself a lot of heartache in the future. Often entrepreneurs give away equity for physical help. So as an entrepreneur, you're sitting there going, okay, well, I'm a great financial person, or I'm the inventor, but I have no idea about marketing. And you bring your friend or whatever in, and you give away 50% equity for it. Trust me, for skills or for information or for assistance, you can outsource it and you can pay for it. It is much, much, much cheaper than giving away equity for it. So save your equity for when you really need it, and going to get your business really kind of into that growth phase. Through all the years of dealing with VCs, I knew a great partner when I saw it. So it's like a marriage partner. It is exactly like a marriage partner. There must be chemistry. They must share the same values as you. If they don't share your vision, if they're not on the same wavelength as you, it's going to not work out. I've experienced. So you need to find the right kind of partner. And what it does is it also takes your business to a new level of corporate governance and accountability, which is always good. So it really helps you keep those finances in tow, your decisions made wisely, and can help take your business to the next level. Now we're in a growth phase, and we're trying desperately not to bottleneck our cash flows. And so what we've done to finance the next phase of our business is all our international distributors, we've said to them up front, we're a small business, we cannot fund you. We cannot give you terms. So we take a 60% deposit up front for all those orders and 40% on 30 days. And that's helping us now with the growth phase of our business.